I like this shortened group here. Well, I think first of all, it's a good week to have a bye week. I think it'll be good for Miles. It'll be good for our team to kind of reacclimate a little bit and just some more time to work on us. And I think right now that's critical. Had a good team meeting yesterday and talked about how close it is from winning to losing, and used some analogies from the pro football weekend, how a drop pass or a reception on the sidelines that's almost in or out, or one play can make a difference. I felt like Judd Heathcote gave me the best advice yesterday. I got a voicemail from him saying, you didn't play great, but they played better than you played worse. And I thought that's the way it was. They made some shots. That bothers me, but at the same time, there were shots that they don't normally make. That's what teams do. There's still going to be an adjustment period for us. We're going to figure out how to play with Miles now. I know the hot topic of conversation is the substitution pattern. That is something I'm concerned with too. But when you played 7-8 games without a guy, and then you get him back, and then you've got to do certain things with him, and we're going to have some ups and downs. This is still going to be a process, and to be very honest with you, it's going to be one that our team is still in progress right now. We're still forming who we are and what we are, and trying to figure that out. I think we're getting a better idea, but when we go on the road, we haven't been as sharp on the road. The other team in our league that is playing more than a few freshmen is probably Iowa. They beat Purdue at home and lost by 40 at Northwestern. And those are the things that we're going to try to minimize and deal with. And as far as Indiana goes, I still think it's one of the more talented teams in the league. I think they've had a couple of tough losses, but they've maybe had two of the biggest wins in the country, beating North Carolina and Kansas. So you can look at it glass half full or half empty, but I do think this is a very dangerous, talented, great shooting team. I think they've got 4 or 5 players that shoot over 40% from the three, and that tells you a little bit about them. They're very well coached. They score a lot of points, and as we all know, it's a tough place to play. So getting back to us for a minute, disappointed, not discouraged. Disappointed that we didn't play a little better down there, not discouraged. And not discouraged because I know how we lost. We lost because we didn't guard quite well enough, but we lost because another team made a bunch of threes that haven't been making them. And we're just going to have to deal with it and move forward. So I'll take any questions you have. Hondo.
Tom, there isn't one person in this room, from you or any of us, that doesn't like personally Aaron and Matt. So this is not anything to do with them personally. Mm-hmm. But is there too much attention placed on your freshmen when your 2 shooters are either pump faking themselves out of shots or, quite frankly, just not taking them?
Well, I don't think there's too much placed on our freshmen because, I think they've gotten what they've deserved, and our freshmen haven't been the problem. If you mean too much pressure on them, I don't know if you mean, like we're all looking at them. Yeah, I'd say right now, and I think I've said this every press conference I've been in, that there were 3 people that are keys to us being successful. I said Aaron, I said Matt, and I said Kenny. And in the Minnesota game, 2 of those 3 played awfully well. And we're going to get a lot out of our freshmen, but it is going to be a little more up and down. It was great to see Miles, even though he turned it over a little bit. A couple of those turnovers were weird turnovers, but it was nice to see him being so efficient. He seemed to be a lot better shape, and some of it is because we do, and that will be lifted now, but we've had to sub him every 3-4 minutes. That's been a negative, but it's also been a positive that I think he's gotten rest so he can play 30 minutes, but he's definitely getting some breaks instead of going 10 minutes and then being out for a couple minutes, then doing it that way. So I don't have a good answer on why they're pump faking the air. Confidence would lead to some of that, not feeling comfortable. I don't think we're getting enough off our fast break. If I go back to last year and try to watch Brandon, what he did for a variety of reasons. But I keep telling you, I tell all of you, when you're trying to play together with freshmen, and let's not kid each other, there are not many teams doing this. There are not many teams doing it. Don't put Duke in there, put Kentucky in there somewhat. But there are not many teams that are relying on them. The Matt and Kenny thing I told you, I think was a missed summer. I mean, I think that really hurt Kenny. As far as Aaron goes, he's struggling a little bit. He really is. It's not from lack of effort, like you said, not for anything he's doing wrong off the court. He's in here working on his game. I think when you get to be a senior, sometimes you start pressing, but it's also some of the blame goes on our screening. And are we getting the ball to the right people at the right time? Well, when you're playing so many different people in different lineups for what we were doing all summer and most of the fall, it's going to happen. And I don't like it any more than you do, but we still need those three people if we're going to be really good. We're going to get more out of Nick. He won't have a game like he had last game. Miles is going to continue to improve. We're going to get more out of Cassius. It was one of those games where because of the big guards, we had some problems, but we're going to get more out of Cassius, and Josh is getting better. It's you don't want to place blame on anybody, but your key veteran players have to play well if you're going to be successful. We're probably getting more out of Elvin than we thought we would. It's the two shooters, and I would agree that they're sometimes not looking. Matt was in early today. Aaron was in yesterday. I mean, it's not through lack of work. It's a little bit of confidence. It's a little bit of us doing a better job of setting screens and getting them open, and them doing a better job of being ready to shoot the ball and confident to shoot the ball. So, people go through this, and hopefully it doesn't last a long time, but that has been a little bit of a disappointing part for us too. And the good news is, I think you hit the nail on the head. You're not talking kids that are problems. You're not talking kids that don't get along with their teammates. You're talking about two kids that their teammates are trying to help them get through it. And we just got to do it the old-fashioned way. We just got to saddle up, maybe get back to doing something we couldn't do for a while with the different injuries and the different amount of time, and get back in the gym maybe in mornings and get more shots up and just build your confidence. So that, and the other factor will be to figure out who's getting shots in what settings. We're going inside the Nick more. With Miles, we got some things. We got to get more baskets off the break with those guys. That's how Brennan and Zell got a lot of theirs, and we got to do a better job of that, so that'll fall on the coaching staff too.
You kind of brought up the substitution pattern and everything. I mean, without a game week, I mean, that's probably the hardest thing. That's not something you can necessarily replicate in practice, I would imagine. And also, how do you plan on using this week in between the games? What things do you focus on with them?
A lot of it's going to be on us. It'll be, like Miles now, starting last week, is practicing the full go, but now we got to put those together. He's got to play with the guys he's playing with. Does the playing group shrink a little bit? It's easy to say that, but to our surprise, Nick struggled in that game. Not to our surprise, we have to do what we had to do with Miles in that game, and we're searching at the 2 and 3 spot. We are searching. But I think some of you got enamored with, if you went back and looked at the film, our 6-0 start, and then it looked like we subbed and everything went one way and went the other. Some of those substitutions have to happen. had to happen, just the way it was. I have no choice on that. Some of them, you can't just take a kid who's been playing in the rotation and all of a sudden, because it looks like one game, it's easy to, we've been building it by subbing, by necessity, unfortunately. Well, you can't just cut that off. You got to figure out who fits in where and who does what. But if they don't hit 7 threes from guys that haven't hit them all year, we're not talking about the same thing. So it's difficult. And I'll say the same thing to you guys that are talking about it, that I would say to Hondo with his. I said all year long, I need 3 guys to play better. I've also said in the last 3 weeks, we have to get a playing rotation down. I've never been this late in the year and not had one. But those playing rotations, there's not as much consistency to them in certain areas. Number 1, injuries. Number 2, foul trouble. And number 3, when you're playing all these freshmen, the ups and downs of them and the experience creates things that sometimes you might not see, but I got to deal with them. I mean, I can't tell you everything that happens in a locker room, but you get a feel whether a guy's ready to play or not ready to play, and I mean that's going to happen with freshmen. It's going to happen, and you try to minimize it, and we're going to try to minimize it. But sometimes what you see isn't always what you get, and sometimes I feel you're nobody's doing anything because anybody wants anybody to fail, so I feel your passion for it, but I also understand that it's going to take some time in this process, not because of the freshmen, because the upperclassmen that didn't practice all summer, that are trying to refine themselves and getting Miles back. That's a lot on a plate. I mean, there's a lot of things on this plate that might look good one way, don't feel as good the other. And in saying all that, we got beat by a team that was 0-4, but could have, should have beat the team that's leading the league in Purdue. So I'm as confused on some of that as you are. All I know is I think the team is getting better. I think we had a setback with guys that have been playing well that didn't play as well. And I do think we're searching at those 2 and 3 spots for scorers. And some of it's got to be their confidence. Some of that's got to be what they're doing. But some of it is what we're doing too. We did a unique thing yesterday. We did some things on Martin Luther King. We also did some things on pro football. And you look at those games, and we showed them the drop catch with Houston. That changes the whole game. 1 less 3 or 1 more 3 changes everything. Sometimes it's the difference is that much. It's a game of inches, as they say. And sometimes it's harder to get young guys to realize that than older guys. And that's what we're working on right now. So we're still a work in progress, but there is progress, and we're going to keep working on it.
With Cassius, when Miles was out, he really kind of took over in some as the playmaker offensively. It seemed at times. It seemed like he was the guy to create more, and Miles does that. So is this an adjustment for Cassius, having somebody and I know Miles isn't a selfish player, but he's somebody who is a go-to guy who creates. And is this?
No, it have no bearing on Miles and Cassius. What it have bearing on is who we were playing. I mean, I don't mean to be ignorant, but you can play. Freshmen can play better against 6 or 7 teams that are not, your top teams. We come back and okay, we played Minnesota up there without Miles. Didn't play very good for 2/3 of that game. Nobody did. I'm not nothing to do with Cassius. I don't even remember who we played right after that. Northwestern here, and we played pretty good, but what we were doing is we were getting better defensively. But Cash has got the ball in the break. He's got to push it. He's got to get it up to those wings, and we got to start moving it. But then there's things defensively too that we have to do because we're not scoring as much. So the Cassius Miles thing, that has no bearing on him. What has a bearing is playing Mississippi Valley or playing, Minnesotas and Northwesterns and teams like that. That has more bearing on it to me. So I don't know. I mean, everybody has their favorites, and listen, my favorites are, I think Cassius Winston is one of my favorite guards of all time already because I think he has a high basketball IQ. There's just a process he's got to go through too, and some of it is defending better. And one thing I think he can do that he's struggled a little bit on is scoring. I think we got a lot of guys not looking for their shots right now, and that isn't from me. That is their own confidence, and so I think, maybe spend a little more time in the gym. I think we went through that month where I told you we were traveling so much and didn't get to spend any time practicing. All these things have been factors in it, but I see nothing that has anything to do with Miles as far as Miles only took 12 shots. And that's not many for a guy who I think goes 9 for 12. You'd almost want to get him more shots, and that had nothing to do with why Cassius is or isn't playing as much. Cassius will get back up there. It was one game when he played 11 minutes. Other than that, he's been playing 20 minutes a game.
Tom, I don't know if you saw or heard what happened at the end of the Indiana-Rutgers game on Saturday.
A little bit about I didn't see the play, but Tom was mad about going for a lob or something.
Yeah, I was just wondering your thoughts on that. I mean, I guess it was two reserve freshmen, a little bit of showboating in there, but just your thoughts on that situation. Was it kind of merited that Tom was that angry about it, or?
Well, yeah, because I think you're missing the boat. It had nothing to do with the two freshmen. It had to do with the coach on the other sideline, I'm willing to bet. He's been struggling, and the last thing, unless you hate the guy, anybody wants to do is rub it in their face. It had nothing to do with taking fun away from two freshmen, I don't think. I don't know that. I'm just giving you my own opinion. Why do 95% of us hold the ball at the end of the game? It really doesn't matter what's 2 more points. It's not the 2 points. It's not the, have fun. It's not that it would be nice to get Greg a basket and all that. But what about the other guy? What about the other guy? Because we all been there. We all been the other guy. I've been the other guy. And so I applauded Tom for it. And yet I didn't see it yet. I just heard about it. But I applauded him because he wasn't trying to disc his own players or anything like that. I'm sure he was looking at a guy that's struggled in this league, who I think is a damn good coach, and didn't want to just embarrass him, for a better choice of words. So 100% agree with him. Thought it was the right thing to do. I don't know how much he went after him, but maybe he had said something too. These are the things that you guys don't know. Maybe in the timeout, you say, hey, we're gonna work for a good shot, but I don't want any showboating. Maybe that's why he went off. I don't know that either. But we all comment before we know what's really happening sometimes, and I think we all have our opinion. We all are allowed our own comments, but sometimes we hurt ourselves if we comment without knowledge. And so I'm commenting without knowledge because I didn't talk to Tom. I'm commenting with knowledge because I heard what happened and I've been through it myself. And for him to go off on a kid who's just a freshman or a walk-on, whatever he was, he's probably thinking of the other coach because he's probably been in those shoes before too.
I'm not sure if you've heard from Thad yet. I think you're going to, about your comments after the game about being happy for him. And when I told him what you said, He talked about you being a great friend, but also a mentor over the last 13 years, and said that you're one of the best to ever be in the business. I'm curious, away from basketball, the Hall of Fame this year, you've talked more about it wanting to enjoy it. Are you able to appreciate your status of one of the elder statesmen, not just in the Big Ten, Tom, but in the game of basketball itself?
I don't think I appreciate it. I think I have an obligation to it. The one of all the comments Judd gave me, and there were 100,000 of them. But when I had a chance to go on the NABC board, the board is called the Guardians of the Game, is their motto, and I think we need more people that protect the game of basketball and what's going on. I mean, that motto. It's not like we're great friends. It's not like we're mentors. To me, is somebody that does something and you see it. I wasn't happy for him that we lost, but I'm just amazed on how fast people turn on you. And like I said, I think I said it there. I don't know the exact numbers. I have no clue. But I know I've played in a lot of Big Ten championship games, either in the tournament or in the regular season, that it's been us in Ohio State or us in Wisconsin. And so I have great appreciation for that. And I look back on history and I see so many different coaches, a lot of football coaches in this league that were 9-2 and 10-2. And, people wanted to run them out of town. And, for the most part, I think they've done it the right way. They've done their job, and I'm just amazed on how fast things change. So it wasn't anything for me. It was sort of for him, but it was more about making a statement on the game of basketball or the game of sports and what it's doing and what it's bringing and how people are losing perspective a little bit. And in saying that, I don't know all the circumstances from him or from them. I just said that he's done a pretty good job over his career there, and happy for him in that way.
Coach, when we talked about toughness and grit a while ago, you mentioned that there's some value to players that come from the state of Michigan. What do Michigan-grown players mean to you, especially like a guy from Miles from Flint? And then what does, guys from the state of Michigan differ elsewhere?
Well, that's a great question. I always said if I could get a 7-footer from Florida, Texas, or California, I'd probably have my name in lights, because everybody thinks if you recruit from farther, it's better. I think just the opposite. I think you got to put a fence around your own state, and you got to be getting a lot of the best players in your state if you're one of the big schools in the state. And I've always believed that the Midwest has a tougher kid. That's not always true, but I've always believed that. I've always believed in recruiting kids near their homes where family and friends could see them play. I think that's part of the family atmosphere. Like in Miles and Cash's case, the state of Michigan's been up and down too. For a lot of years when I was a GA here, we were getting 10 Big Ten ACC players a year out of here. Then it went to like 1, and now it's coming back a little bit. I think my championship team, we had probably 6 or 7 main guys that were from the state. If it was up to me, they're the best people. The rivalries mean more to the people right in your own backyard. I think there's a blue-collarness to the state of Michigan when you look at our auto industry and all the things that have gone on here, the mines in the UP to the plants in Flint and Detroit and Lansing. So I've always had an appreciation for that. But, hey, there's good players all over. There's good players all over. When you got to get 3 a year, if I can get them in my own backyard, to me that's better for me, better for the families that want to watch them play, and better for the rivalries and the understanding of what the Big Ten is or what the Michigan State game is or all those things. So that's just been my model. That's what I've kind of lived with. And, everybody's different.
Curious if you have an update on Gavin Schilling and his status going forward.
It's funny you say it because the update is probably the same. He hasn't done any more. We haven't done anything formally with him. We haven't talked to his parents yet. We were just trying to see what happened. I told you it was doubtful. I still think it's very doubtful. But I don't know when we'll make it a definitive answer. I mean, in my mind, it's 99% definitive. I think in his mind it is too. So I guess we could almost say that his chances of coming back are slim this year. But, a kid doesn't ever know, too, what he wants to do, Gavin's a unique kid. He's been from Germany, and he's been in Italy. His family has European ties, which means that he could be a citizen there. He could go overseas and play. So that's part of it too. Does he want to play a month or two and then go? But I think for the most part, if he doesn't, Gavin will be here, and we'll probably be lucky if he comes back. I mean that in a positive way, because I think he had a hell of a spring and summer and fall. And, the only reason we're not doing anything is because we haven't really talked about it because he hasn't been able to do anything.
Just same with Ben too. Is 99 still the
Ben, I thought I said is definitely out.
Okay.
But if I didn't, that's my fault. But I mean, because his is a reoccurring injury, we wouldn't be able to take a chance. Again, you kind of hope and you wait and you see if they could come back and what they can do. They're both working out hard, but nobody's hit the floor at all, as you guys have seen in practice yourselves.
with Cassius? You've talked about the ability to use him and Tom at the same time. Is that potentially an answer for some of the scoring issues at the two?
If I can get Cassius to shoot the ball, look for his shot a little more, yeah, that could be. We're definitely got to get Cassius more involved in the scoring part of this, and that's something him and I are going to talk about today, in fact. But at the same time, we've had a lot of good scoring point guards here, way back from the Scott Skiles days to, of course, the Kalen Lucases of the world, and last year even in Denzel. And I think he's capable of that. I think he can do both. He's smart enough to do both, good enough to do both. Part of his progression is getting his body. He's done a great job getting his body in better shape and get him stronger. We do have to get him where he can play both ends. We do have to get him where he is consistently pushing that ball. And, he made progress in every game, but one game he played 11 minutes. And I don't look at that as anything other than maybe the matchups that day and what we thought we needed.
Where is, in terms of Miles Bridges, how close is he to, he looked pretty close to 100% from my vantage point. Like, how close do you think he is to where he can be?
I would agree with you, except that it was just a game ago before that we all agreed that he was dying 6 minutes, 5.5 minutes into the game, So I think it's really helped. I think he's gotten his feet wet. I'm sure part of it was nervous energy that day. But Miles is a very strong, tough kid, and I've been amazed on how fast he has come back. But there's two parts to this story, maybe three. One is the conditioning part. The injury part, I'm 100% comfortable with. The conditioning part, where is he? I don't know. What we've done, what we've been told to do, what we've been asked to do, is play him in 3.5 minute intervals, so that he doesn't hit a fatigue point and start running different and all this and that. That's been bad in some ways for us. It's been good in other ways. I think the last game we learned he still played 30 or 31 minutes or whatever he played, but it was more divided up. Now, that hurts you sometimes in runs, as I guess the internet has gone crazy on, but it also helps him. in certain ways. And when we get to the point where we are comfortable with how long he can go, that's going to increase. I think he's a lot better, but that's the second way, is conditioning. The third way is then integrating him in with the group again. And he's been, very easy to do that with, but for him to them, but I don't know for them to him. We've tried to simplify a few things, and I think it really helped us in the last couple games, but I would like to not have to simplify things and get guys more where they can play off a feel. And, like when you brought up the Cassius and Miles thing, like Miles, I'd like to see him get a rebound and go with it a little bit. But he's not there yet, and he actually did what we asked him to do very well. And you can't argue the 9 for 12. He's shooting better from the free throw line. Some of that was all the injury. He shot free throws morning, noon, and night because he couldn't do anything else, which just proves my point even more. If you work on something, you'll get better at that something. And so where is he? I'm expecting that now we pull the gloves off as far as not having to worry about the minutes as much. That's one. I think this is a week where we can get him acclimated to the team part. That'll be two. The conditioning part is still a little bit harder than you think, because it's not like we want to go out there and run him. So we'll get him on a bike some, which is good, but it isn't the same. But we will get him 4 days of practicing, and hopefully each day he practices, he's going to get stronger. I've seen absolutely zero, which is probably frustrating to people. It's frustrating to me sometimes, and it's really frustrating to him. Zero. There's been no pain in his ankle. There's been no issues in any way, shape, or form before, during, or after a game. So conventional wisdom says speed the process. Listen, guys, they can write all day on the internet whatever they want. You can report whatever you want. There's one thing that people don't know about me. I am not a win-at-all-cost guy. I'm close. I mean, it'd be my health, win at all cost. Someone else, win at all cost. A player that has a future, they could line up at my house. They're not going to get me to change anything on that. So be careful on what you think and what you know until you know what you know. Probably didn't make any sense, but it did to me. If you don't know what you don't know, you should be quiet about it. If you don't know what you don't know, you should be quiet about it. If you do know what you do know, then you should be able to say whatever you want. Freedom of speech. Yes, Fred.
Just give us some
baseball question.
No, not yet. But there are 27 days left.
I'm counting them down.
Give us some perspective on where the outside world thinks your team should be, where they are, and where you think they should be. The governor's given his state of the state tonight. Give us the state of Michigan State.
Well, you really want me to, huh? I'll give it to you. Best I can give it to you. You know, this is new territory for me, too. It's different. It's new territory. You know, I've had the job for 22 years. Never in 22 years did I even dream of starting 4 freshmen. Had some pretty good classes. Some pretty good teams, some pretty good recruiting classes. But I always had some veterans. And, you know, we're playing a group with 4 freshmen. We're playing a group with 2 other guys that missed a lot of time. That is going to take some time, way more than I thought. That's the part that's been hard for me. I don't disagree with fans. I don't disagree with writers. I don't disagree with, well, I always disagree with talk show radio guys, but I always disagree with Twitter people because they are talking about something they don't spend any time looking at. A reporter, he's there at a practice. He's there at a games. Other people just feel they can say what they want to say. I struggle with that. But it's been different. It's been different to play with the ups and downs of freshmen, you know. I hear other people talk about it, and there's one or two. And I think the biggest problem is everybody wanted to compare our class to Kentucky's. And we got a very, very, very good freshman class. But there aren't 4 guys going to the NBA tomorrow. So that's got to be kept in perspective too. That with the damage of the early schedule, the loss of, we've already forgot about Schilling and Ben, other than worried about whether they're injured or not. It's been a hell of a year, and I think we're still above water. I think we're 4-2 in the league. I think we got a lot of work to do. I think fans should get behind this team because it's a lovable, likable team. I'm sure those of you that interview them would agree with that. I got unbelievable guys. A couple guys are struggling a little bit. What are the reasons for it? Freshmen, it's easy to see. The seniors, there's only one that's really struggling, and I don't think it's, I got to pick the right word here. I feel bad about that because I think he's one of the hardest working guys we got. And those 2 sophomores, you don't miss 7 months. So if I give the state of the state, it's going to be a big excuse. But part of the state of the state is new territory for me too. So I can't blame fans because it's new territory for them. But don't panic. I don't want to be Aaron Rodgers and just relax, but don't panic. This team is getting better. I mean, we're doing some things better than we did. We reared our ugly head and the turnovers came back. They were cut down to like 11, 12 a game over a 5-6 game stretch. They came back, okay? We reared our ugly head because a couple guys didn't play as well that I thought would play well, that had been playing well. But we got to do a better job as coaches too. This is new territory. I mean, there aren't many programs in the country playing 3 freshmen. A lot. There's not a lot of the top 20 that are playing 2. There's 1 or 2, maybe 3 that are winning that way. And, this phenomenon that every freshman's going to be a superstar early. Cassius Winston's done a hell of a job. He's already changed his body a lot. He's had to adjust to the college life. He's done a hell of a job. Josh Langford, missed a month of the preseason. Everybody says last week, they're saying to me, boy, Josh Langford's really coming on. Well, yeah, he's going to come on. He's going to get better. Nick has been phenomenal in certain areas. But you got to be phenomenal in a lot of areas to win games in the Big Ten. And playing in the Big Ten is a little different than playing some of those non-conference games. And so perspective has been out of perspective this year. Okay? Great recruiting class. A ton of injuries. Okay? Just name them from last April. You got Matt McQuaid. You got Kenny Goins. Then you got Gavin and Ben. Then you got Josh. Then you got Miles. When I say those are a month to 6 months to a whole year worth of injuries. Now, all those guys could have, would have, maybe started or been in the playing group. Okay? That's just the reality of it. So that part of it is that way. Then you play that monster schedule early. Then you're traveling all over the world, which no Michigan State. Name me another team that's done it. So if you want me to give you a perspective on what I've had to deal, is that my fault? Yes, it is. But it is what it is. And you know what? We're still surviving. We've lost to a pretty good Penn State team. Ohio State's going to win a lot of games. There's a lot of veterans on that team. They're going to win a lot of games. Am I happy where we are? No. Do I understand where we are? Partially. Because I can't rate what those injuries did to Matt and Kenny with that whole summer. I know what I think, but I can't rate it. I can't rate what all that lack of practice time did that I tried to explain. I can't rate it. Would I do it again? This is one thing I will say. I'll play the same schedule. Never in the same framework. I'll never do that again. So that's my fault. If people want to criticize, that's what they should criticize. But those freshmen, they've done a hell of a job battling through that. Miles Bridges, unbelievable job. I mean, he missed 6 weeks, and look at, I mean, he's come back, and he's, you know, and he doesn't complain about anything. He wants to play more minutes. He wanted to play 2 weeks earlier than he, you know. I was worried about his future. He wasn't worried. He was worried about our guys and our program. Hell, this program's probably in better shape now than it's been in 6, 7 years as far as having freshmen that have good futures ahead of them. McQuaid will get better. Kenny Goins will get better. I'll be more experienced on how to handle this kind of number. But Michigan State University, guys, isn't going to have 6 McDonald's All-Americans and different freshmen every year. That's probably not going to happen. That's no insult to recruiting or anything else. It's an insult to, it's a fact that not many people have it. Not many at all. So hit me with the excuses of that so we can really get into this a little bit, as long as we're not going to have a round table and I'm in a good mood to talk about it. Go ahead, Graham, hit me with it. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I just retweeted it. I thought this was always going to be the season. Every time we've had it, I mean, this was always going to be a roller coaster season. So I don't think.
Every time? You thought last year would be a roller
No,
coaster?
every time you've had a team this young, you've never relied on this many freshmen, but when you've had this.
Wait. Where have I been close to this young? In my career, 2002.
Kalen group, maybe the 2002 team, the Kalen, Chris Allen group, maybe this freshman.
Kalen wasn't on that one. That was Torbert and Anderson.
Yeah, I'm saying those two teams, 02 and then 07, 08, those two.
Yeah, but I'm not sure, even in those years, there were, you know, if Gavin, Didi, you know, we forget about Didi, you know, that was a surprise. I don't think I've ever been through this. Maybe. I mean, not with the schedule we played. So, I mean, this is new territory. You know, take it at that. Doesn't make it right, wrong, indifferent. But that's where I think you, media, fans, and a coach has a problem. I can't compare it to anything. From now on, I'll be able to do a better job of comparing it. But this is one. I can say it now because it's over. God, I wish we were in a round table and I'd get into it more. But did you think I was making excuses on the schedule when we were going through the practice times? Honestly, you didn't. You, kind of. Really? Somebody's got to.
You have to have practice, and you weren't getting practice. I've seen that before.
We weren't getting any, because I knew what it was like when we got back at 4 a.m. and we had to try to go the next day, and we weren't getting any in. And now that's over, so it's not an excuse. It's a reality that I didn't do a good job of explaining how bad it was, because I knew that I'd get nailed with it as an excuse. So,
You also set that up even before that schedule started, too. That those were the things that you were worried
you know what? I don't think I said that about the practice time. I said it about the travel. I did not. You know, I said, well, I got back on this day, and I'd have 3 days till the next game. But I forgot when I got back on that day, the next day, nobody was functioning very well, you know, on that 8-hour trip back from Hawaii and 6-hour time change or this or that. So even when I talk about it now, it sounds like an excuse. You opened your mouth, Fred. I wish you'd talk about baseball, and you wanted to know about the state of the union of where it is. Those are the things that we've been going through. Do we blame ourselves? Do we blame the players? I mean, you know, how do you do it? How do you handle it? Well, I decided that how I'm handling it is, look, if I get soft on them, you know, I told them, it's not your fault. I tell them all the time. It's not your fault that I have to demand more out of a freshman than I would most other freshmen. But it is a privilege that you get to have that happen. It's a privilege. You know, you're good enough to play at a top 10, 20, whatever you want to call us. I'd say in the last 20 years, a top 10 program. You're good enough to do that. But you have to, with that rank, there becomes a responsibility that you have to speed your process up a little. Well, we did some of that, but some things, as I've told you before, the process doesn't get sped up. And going to new places, I mean, we laughed. We go to Columbus. No big deal, you go on the road. Well, there's a hockey game the night before. No big deal, we can't shoot the night before, we'll shoot the day of. Well, the game that was 4:30 back months ago is now 1 o'clock or 1:30. So now you don't get to shoot the other day of a game. You know what? Denzel Valentine, who cares? 4 freshmen, Matt McQuaid, guys that have, a lot of people care. Those are the things that if you don't know the outside noise, if you don't understand, if you've never been in the arena, you have no clue. And those are things that, what am I going to do? Come out and say, well, you know, we didn't shoot here, that's why we didn't shoot. We shot the ball pretty good. That's not what beat us. What beat us is we didn't defend very well. And what beat us is they shot the ball very well. And so I think the state, in a nutshell, usually, to me, and somebody will nail me on this, but I really don't care. I've been through just about everything in this job. I've been through just about everything. This is a new adventure for me. You know, it's a new adventure. And just like all the other ones that were new at one time, you can bet against us. I wouldn't advise you to. Okay? I wouldn't advise you to. Because the more noise, the more work. The more work, the more reason to win. The more reason to win, the more it fuels me. And to be honest with you, this has been hard on all of us. But I can't blame the kids for things that they're going through that is not their fault. The injuries are not their fault. The practice time's not their fault, you know. Not defending quite as well, that's what I'll blame them for. But I'm going to understand the other things. And then I got to look in the mirror and say, okay, you put them in some of these situations, how are you going to work your way out? Well, that's why I said to you, the very first comment was, great week for some time, because we gave them yesterday off. We're going to practice today, tomorrow. We're going to go 4 straight days, which doesn't happen very often. We're going to try to divide it up a little bit, but we're going to do that and try to work a lot on Michigan State. And for those of you that have followed us a long time, yes, it's the middle of January, and I say we still got to work on Michigan State. That doesn't happen very often either, but there are reasons for it. And so I hate giving a State of the Union address. I'd like it before or after the season, but this is another unique thing, and it was probably a good time to do it. Whether you buy in or don't, it matters to me because I care about all the people in this state, in this community, and even you writers. But it's not going to change my daily prep. It ain't going to change what I work. I'm not going to read because some guy laying in his bed at night is tweeting on who I should play and what I should play. That's going to have absolutely, positively, not 1 ounce of say on what I do. That will not, that is the good part of being in it as long as I have. Some of you that are educated, I might hear what you say, I might think about it. What's sad for me is some of you that are educated are listening to the uneducated, and I think talking about things that people want to talk about or want to hear instead of what you really believe. That to me is sad the other way. You know, we're in a unique day. I heard a great thing. Ryan Clark did an unbelievable deal today on, wasn't that unbelievable? He was unbelievable. How he explained it and what went on, and I thought he did it well because I was mad at Antonio Brown until I heard him talk, and then I realized he wasn't doing anything to the coach, but it was the Twitter era. It's all about me. And man, You know, you're not going to get me to accept that. I'm just not doing it. So, whatever way. Next question. State of the state. Want another? Huh? Probably. Yes, sir.
I'm not going to have you go through each team individually, but there's 12 teams in the Big Ten, 2 wins off of the lead. It seems a little different this year. Even nationally, only 3 ranked teams, none higher than 17. It's just a little bit of a different year for the Big Ten, but you kind of just spoke about yourself, how you don't bet against us. Is it the same thing for the conference in general, maybe overall?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did appreciate one thing Richard Pitino said to me that he said to you guys. You know, everybody that looks at everybody's schedule, I mean, anybody think your alma mater, what are they, 1-3 or 2-3 in the league? 2-3? Is that norm? If it's norm, it hasn't been norm since I've been around. And so, you know, some of it comes down to who you played. You know, I tried to warn you that Ohio State I thought was a better team. I still think they're a better team than their record because of who they played when. Well, some of those teams that are ranked way ahead of Big Ten teams. The Big Ten in general, if you looked at it, there were a lot of those teams played a lot tougher schedules than they have in the past. Indiana, Wisconsin, Purdue, some of those teams played a lot tougher schedules than they have in the past. So that sometimes you're not going to have as many wins, and that's all those rankings go on. I don't know. I don't know where the league is. I like a couple of teams that I've seen. I think Kentucky's pretty good. I think UCLA is very good. My favorite team still might be Villanova because they're probably the toughest and the most experienced team. And I talked to Jay a couple days ago, and it was really kind of, I don't want to share everything he said to me, but a couple of things are really interesting. But it goes to the point of you can win games with young guys if you got them all like Cal's got. But if you got experienced guys, and especially if you got experienced guys around a couple of young guys, you can do a lot of things. But I don't know a lot of teams that if I was betting the ranch on somebody right now like other years, I just don't feel as comfortable as I used to feel about anybody. I've seen Carolina be good. I've seen them be very average. I don't know. That's a good question. I think some of the Big Ten teams, I still think it's hard to win on the road in our league. So there's been some losses, but the schedule, I'm going to warn you on this too. Since we've gone to the 16 teams the last couple of years, it's really hard to follow where your team is a little bit more than it used to be because you're sometimes not playing. I try to warn you that a little bit ours, I thought early was, we had some home games. The road game we had at Minnesota was against a good team, felt good about that, but one game you don't feel great about. And I think that's the problem with this scheduling the way it is, with these mega conferences. And so many people playing somebody, we already played Minnesota twice, I don't think that's good. But some of those teams, I said, in my mind, Ohio State had the toughest schedule of all the people in the first 5 games. Anybody disagree? You guys follow it? I mean, I think it's by far the toughest. First of all, there were 3 road games. And second of all, their home game was against Purdue. So I think that's what makes it difficult. It's way too early. I think I would say this about us to finish off my State of the Union, or State of the State. We have a lot of room for improvement, and we have reason to think we can improve. And that's why I got to keep the noise away from the players, because this group is good. They're great guys. They work hard. They've got to get. They got to grow up a little faster than we'd like them to. But I for what I put them through, I think I'm not satisfied where we are, but I'm not sitting here worried that we're going to collapse or something. We're going to get better. We're going to get better. The schedule's going to get tougher. We're going to get better and see where it takes us. Anything else? Thanks.
He got it.